Welcome into our first episode of the summer series of Between the Line. Obviously, with the NBA finals done, NBA playoffs done, everything, the draft coming up soon. But like most people know, we're in the dog days of the summer for sports terms and sports wise. But I think we have one of the best events in all of sports this summer right here. We got the World Cup hosted right here in the US of A. And who better to talk about it than one of our friends, Bupe, who's going to be a guest on the show for today. And we're going to be talking about the World Cup, just chatting up about one of the best soccer events and one of the best sporting events of all time. So, Bupe, thanks for coming on the pod, man. We're looking forward to it.
No, thanks for having me, guys. So
Sure.
excited to talk about what's happened so far, what we've seen so far. And Jay, I know you're not as well versed in soccer, but what do you think of Team USA?
We're getting right to it. I mean, so like Bupe put it perfectly. I'm not the soccer expert, so I'm going to be relying on these two today. I'm going to be asking you guys lots of questions. So I hope you guys came prepared with all your stats and everything. But I mean, like you said, let's get started with Team USA. I mean, like, I think this is as little as I know about soccer, and I know that obviously it's not even called soccer, it's football, football. But I know that the USA has been playing pretty good so far. Obviously, everyone saw that first match against Paraguay. Obviously Paraguay probably not one of the strongest South American sides, but still a good still a solid team that is making the World Cup. So like that's a good team that we're still playing against. And then just most recently they played against Australia in a 2-0 win there. No Pulisic in that game. One of their probably their best player, one of the better players in the World Cup overall, and still able to get that win without him. So I think my favorite part that I've seen just from USA overall is just like first of all like the amount of like nationalism, like the pride everyone's getting behind this team, which I love to see. This is a team that's really like captivated like everyone in like the country. Everyone's rooting for them. Um, the team has just played like really well. It's like fun to watch. It's not like some of the past World Cups where it's been a struggle for this team to literally get a singular goal, and we're rooting for like draws. Like we just have to like get one win against like it was either like Iraq or Iran in like the last World Cup just to make it in the knockout stage. Just to get blasted by the Netherlands in the first round, then I'm like 2014, like one of the first World Cups I remember watching. Just a struggle to like try and get like draws just to get into the knockout stage, having to have like a really hard fought game against Belgium. And even those games were always really like defensive and all that. Like you never saw many goals. Like this team, like they're scoring 6 goals within their first 2 games, and they're already confirmed to be like already like clinch winning the group, right? So it's like things that like we haven't really seen from American soccer in general, right? No one's seen this specifically in a World Cup stage or just any like competitive setting for the USA in soccer. So I mean, my thoughts on it is like I think we've done really good. I'm obviously a delusional fan, so at this point I'm thinking, yeah, why not? Let's win it all. But obviously, we have to take a step back and look at it. There's so many other good teams, teams that didn't have really a good first game, but they had a really good showing in the second game. Spain being one of those teams, I'm sure we're going to talk about. So I'm going to put the question back on you guys. Like, what do you think? I'll go with you first, Tish. What do you think about USA's start in this World Cup? And like, realistically, how far do you think they could actually go in the rest of this World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like definitely this year it's different. It feels like there's actually some energy behind the team. Like obviously, I'm not gonna say they're gonna go win it all, go in the championship or anything like that. But like partly due to bringing in a new coach, Mauricio Pochettino, and then just like for the first time in a while, where our squad isn't just like a bunch of MLS guys. It's like Premier League players, international guys, Syria. So I mean, I feel like this team and whether it's not some like favorable match fixing or not, not for us to talk about, but I think as things stand right now, they face Bosnia in the round of 32. So, I mean, they could easily, I'm not going to say easily, but they could definitely get a win there. Probably one of the more favorable knockout round matches against any other team. So, I could see them making a run to the quarterfinals, even like the final eight, but definitely final 16, I could see. But it's kind of nice to see like somewhat of a culture develop behind soccer in like the United States, soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, just because I mean, like United States in terms of other sports, like in the Olympics, we've seen like a lot of athletic domination, but soccer's never really been like a strong suit of the United States. So finally getting some like culture momentum building, even if they don't win anything this year, like building forward, it's pretty promising. So I definitely could see this team making a run, winning at least one knockout stage match for sure. What about you,
Yeah.
Bupe?
And
Or
then
yeah,
actually,
Tiff,
Bupe, before you go, like we just talked
Mhm.
about how USA they've already clinched like the winner of like Group D, right? So we know they're obviously gonna be in the
Mhm.
knockout stage, and like you mentioned, Tish, they're gonna be playing a third place team in the round of 32. One of the advantages I just looked it up just to confirm, like one of the advantages of them winning the group and knowing like their place is they've been playing all their first three group stage games are all going to be on the West Coast. And if they are to make it this far, their first three knockout stage games are also going to be on the West Coast. So just having like less travel and things like that, those are all like positive things that are helping them. So like you go ahead, Bupe, and just like give us some of your thoughts.
I guess based off everything you guys said, I agree with Tish, just saying the overall growth in soccer within the US. I'd say it's been really vibrant and helped a lot with the whole atmosphere around it, including like hosting, people at the stadium, people traveling from bars, restaurants, just getting a feel within the US and just watching a lot of tourists like enjoy their first time here. And to speak more so on the game part, you can see, I guess this squad is like the golden generation of US soccer. You know, you have a whole accumulation of very talented players playing in Europe, like Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams. Those three, I think, are very pivotal for this team and leading them, as well as Freeman, well, one of the youngest on the squad, 21 years old. I feel pretty useless. I'm older than him, 22. What am I doing? But having those guys there, I think this is very refreshing for the US. They're showing dominant wins within their first two games. I would say I'd like to see more of Pulisic playing. He hasn't really shown out in these games as much. So hopefully within the knockout stage, it should be good. And then coming into the same knockout stage, I think it's important to, this is why it's important to like win your group. You get better placement within that. So as the US is seeing, they're going to be facing Bosnia. And then from there, they're going to have a relatively interesting matchup between either, I think, Ghana, Panama, and two other countries that should be interesting.
Yeah, and then so I'm gonna ask you guys both a question. So we know, obviously, with the U.S. having one more group stage game remaining, against Turkey, we know that there's no going to be any changes in their seeding or their placement in the bracket, obviously, because they've confirmed winning the group. So if you guys, let's put you guys in the shoes of Mauricio Pochettino, the U.S. manager, and let's say you guys were the one dealing with how you want to structure the lineup and how you want to structure the starting 11 for this game. How would you guys go about doing this? Do you think, or is this the type of game where you still want to play some of your starters to maintain some level of consistency, so you don't have any rust going into the knockout stage? We know obviously some guys have the yellow cards, and we know that if you get too many of the yellow cards that accumulate, you're gonna have to miss a game. So do you want to bench some of your guys to do that? A guy like Pulisic, like, do you want him like healthy or anything like that? Would you want him to play? So how would you guys? I'll start with you, Tish. How would you guys attack the USA in just terms of a game plan aspect of this matchup?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because I feel like this isn't like traditional sports where you want to just like by default load manage rest of your guys. Because I mean, the World Cup once every 4 years, you only have three guaranteed games. I mean, the US has clinched a knockout spot and they already clinched their group. But I think probably the guys who are dealing with injuries, like specifically Christian Pulisic, where he missed the Australia game with that calf injury. So I mean, I would say it's definitely safe to bench him or at least put him on like a minutes restriction where like we saw like Yamal with Spain played like just under like 15, 20 minutes in his first game. So maybe just get him on the field to like, get the juices flowing, get the blood pumping, just like get some reps, but nothing, no serious minutes for him because it's not a must win game by any means. The US, they've already clinched the first spot in the group. And Turkey's already been, I believe, eliminated from knockout round contention with the two losses already. So neither team's really playing for any movement in the standings whatsoever. So I don't think you want to immediately bench your starting 11 entirely, but I say the older vets, maybe put them on a minutes restriction, let some of the younger guys shine, like Freeman. We saw him get the goal in the Australia game, maybe give him some more minutes. But yeah, kind of balance, not just rest everyone, but at the same time, get your older veteran guys some rest, I think.
Like Tish said, I think this is a great time for Pochettino to experiment with his lineups and get a feel within the club, having the younger guys, like you said, get a touch of the field. I know Turkey may not be as playing, I guess, as desperate as they can be, but they'll be playing for their pride with as a country. So I'd say take this game serious, but still have some type of fun within it. So you can try different formations, different lineups. If some people are coming off injury, since most of these players have been playing um, a full season for their clubs. Like you said, Christian Pulisic having that calf injury or Neymar being injured just before the World Cup. All these things add up. So this is a good time to rest those guys as well.
Yeah, and I think it'll definitely be like it'll still be a competitive team to play against Turkey. I mean, in the sense of like it's now pretty much for a lot of these teams where they've been eliminated, like Tunisia, for example. That third game is pretty much all
Mhm.
about their international pride. We see Turkey, they've had like 60 combined shots with 0 goals. I mean, they don't want to go out like goalless in the entire World Cup 4 years, wait like on the sidelines. So it's definitely like it's going to be a competitive team for the US to play against. So kind of like you said, like experiment with like formations, lineups, tactics. Definitely a good opportunity for the US.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with what both of you guys are saying. I think it's a good idea to, like you said, this is a game where there's no risk. There's no risk for the United States in doing anything. So what's the problem with like experimenting, trying to see? Maybe you end up starting a guy that like gives you some type of like spark off the bench, and you realize this is probably the guy you want first off the bench, or maybe it's the guy you want in the starting lineup for the knockout stages. So we'll see what happens there. So let's move on to one of the other teams. Let's move on to from a team we were talking about in the United States, one of the more long shots to win it all going into the World Cup. And now let's move to one of the teams that was based on what book you were looking at, either the listed favorite, the co-favorite, or the second favorite, the Spain national team. So obviously a team that a lot of people had high expectations for, including yourself, Tish, one of your favorite players on the team, Lamine Yamal. Going into the first game against Cabo Verde, obviously a team that Spain was expected to dominate ends up with a 0-0 draw, right? Vizinha, the goalie for Cabo Verde, having a lot of great saves in that game. Lamine Yamal not starting the game, right? He comes on in the second half with about like 20 to 25 minutes left in the game, and they still aren't able to get anything. So people are thinking, okay, maybe is there something like wrong with Spain or something like that, or should they be worried that they weren't able to get the win there? But thankfully, just earlier today, on the day of recording, Sunday, Spain was able to take down Saudi Arabia in a 4-0 win. So it's looking like, based on the goal, based on how many goals they were able to score and things like that, it's looking like, yeah, Spain is back. But I'm gonna ask you first, Tish. Do you think this game, and especially the win over Saudi Arabia, was that more good win because of Spain actually being like back to who we thought they were, or is that more of just a result of the lack of competition in Saudi Arabia?
I think it was probably a mix of both, honestly speaking. I mean, we saw like game one, like Cabo Verde shocked the entire world with the draw. I mean, even though it was a draw, like it was probably one of the most entertaining like 0-0 matches I've ever watched. We saw Vizinha, like incredible performance, 7 saves, 40 years old, came into the match with like 50,000 followers. Now he's at like 15 mil, something crazy. Just
Yep.
another reminder of how like insane like the level of influence is for soccer compared to like any other sport. It's not even close for any of the other sports there. But so yeah, I mean like Spain, a lot of question marks. I feel like a lot of fans are definitely overreacting, but at the same time, unexpected draw. So kind of like some overdue BTA on their part. They gave the Saudis a 3-0, 4-0 win actually, and we saw Yamal get the start. I think he didn't play that first game because of the hamstring injury he'd been dealing with for the last like 6 weeks, and there have been like hidden under the like table conversations between like Barcelona trying to get Spain to limit Yamal's numbers. I mean his minutes. So we got the start, and I mean we saw right away he scored within like the first 10, 15 minutes. And then as much as I love him, like he wasn't even the main guy. Oh, here's the ball. Got 2 goals and an assist. Now I think bringing his like ridiculous international appearances to like 23 goals or something. It's like 21 goal contributions in his like last 13 international appearances. Definitely one of the most like underrated players in the entire tournament. So, I mean, it's kind of like, Spain, they definitely needed this win. Very important, especially because it's interesting how the bracket works for this group because as things stand, the second place finisher in this group is going to face Argentina in the knockout round. So I mean, Spain definitely doesn't want to finish second and face one of the most likely champions in Argentina in the round of 32. So it's good for Spain. I think now more than likely I mean, they have a tough match coming up against Uruguay for the third game, but um, we'll see what they can do. They hope they can get first and clinch a non-Argentina knockout game. But I definitely think, Saudi Arabia is probably the worst team in this entire group. So it's definitely a bit of a mismatch. But at the same time, like a 4-0 win is a 4-0 win. No matter who you're playing against. I think Spain, I don't know if I don't think they're really my pick to win at all, but I think they'll definitely make a deep run, is what I'll say about them.
I think, like Tish said, that first game I think was a mix of, I guess, a lack of seriousness on Spain's part, as seeing Cape Verde as an opponent. I do think Cape Verde really surprised them at some point in the match. I think you could tell when Spain took it seriously, like, guys, we might like lose. We're supposed to be like winning this game. They were the obvious favorites within that game. Most people expected them to blow out Cabo Verde, but Cabo Verde put on a really strong show. And I think from that showing, that confidence showed up in today's match against Uruguay, which ended as a 2-2 draw. It was very, very exciting match. Very fast paced, a lot of hype moments. It's just like, oh, they scored their first two goals for their country. Just like a good squad seeing this. But on Spain's part, you could see they woke up from that match. They learned from the mistakes. They got more clinical in the third half of the pitch. So hopefully they can keep the same mentality going forward. And I think obviously they'll make a strong run into the knockout stage, and then we'll see from there.
Yeah, I think that's really great points from both you guys. I think you mentioned like both. It's a little bit of both, like you said, Bupe, like were they really not like taken seriously, and then like you said, they take this like Saudi Arabia game seriously? It looks like it, but like you mentioned, Tish, probably one of the worser teams in the group, and one of the worst teams overall, probably, the tournament. So good on Spain for them to get back into it a little bit, up their goal differential stats by a little bit. Let's see what happens in that third game before the knockout stage. So let's go from another one of the favorites to another one, similar favorites, maybe just slightly down in like the odds. With the guy that's probably the GOAT. I think almost everyone after, especially after that first game, has to be in agreement on that now. But let's go to Argentina, the Argentinian national team led by Lionel Messi. Obviously, in that first game against Algeria, a great win from them, a Messi hat trick, 3-0 win for Argentina. And then at the time of this recording, they have a game tomorrow against Austria. So I guess this is probably going to be up on the morning of the game. So we're going to be talking about this a little bit without the premise of knowing what's going to happen in that game. But let's take a look back and just look at Argentina and Messi as a whole overall, just like sort of their space and the space in the tournament overall, and like Messi's space in the tournament and like all time specifically. So obviously a great game from him, a hat trick there, a really great performance from him overall. I'm gonna start with you, Tish. Like, what did you think? What did you take away from Messi's performance? Obviously, everyone like was like reveling and just like how great of a performance it was. Did you take anything away specifically from it and how he played, or anything like that, or just what are your thoughts on Argentina overall and their potential to actually go and like win this whole thing or have a deep run in the knockout stages?
I mean, it was definitely like, I mean, the GOAT return didn't lose a step, getting up there in age, but I mean, he just continues to surprise everyone, getting his first ever World Cup hat trick. Now officially tying, I believe, Miroslav Klose for the most World Cup goals of all time with 16. And I think passing him in World Cup wins, either passing or ties, but either way, still impressive nonetheless. And I mean, yeah, like Algeria is definitely not a strong team, but at the same time, I mean, they qualified for the World Cup, wins a win. So I don't think this all this match really did was just prove that like Argentina hasn't really lost a step. I will say the one problem with Argentina is definitely their age. A lot of the guys on this current squad were pretty much the same as the winners on the 2022 championship team, and we haven't really seen teams go repeat back-to-back winners. I think it's happened twice in history with like Italy and Brazil, but that was way back in like the last one was like the 1950s, I believe. So clearly, with a lot more advanced like training and talent in the world, you don't really see repeat champions a lot. And I think especially with an aging team like Argentina, I don't know how likely it is that they can do it back to back, but that first game definitely helped their case. I mean, pretty much just showed that, Argentina is Argentina. They're definitely going to be one of the top teams to mess with. I think they still have a bit of a challenge on their hands in like figuring out who's going to be their lone striker up top with we saw like Lautaro Martinez get the start, but he was subbed off almost around halftime, I believe, for Julian Alvarez, who I believe is like the younger, more polished player from Atletico Madrid. So they kind of have a challenge on their hands. We saw throughout the qualifiers, they were like swapping back and forth who's going to get the start. I think honestly, it's going to end up being Alvarez just because we've seen him. I mean, he's won at pretty much every stage. He has like every trophy that there is to win in soccer. So I think he'll get the start, but they have a lot of depth. They have a lot of veteran experience. I don't know if they have enough youth, but Argentina is definitely not one of the teams you want to face in the knockout round, not right away at least.
I guess like you said, defending champs are back. They really put on a statement showpiece against Algeria. I do think certain players on the Algerian squad had a role to play with this. Unfortunately, the son of Zidane, the goalkeeper,
Oh yeah.
uh, what a
Senegal.
performance. But not to take anything away from Messi, hat trick in the World Cup, insane. But you know who else did that? Mr. Mbappe. But don't worry, we'll talk about France right after this, right? But Argentina, like you said, they have a pretty old squad. A lot of the players are in their 30s. So this is almost like a last dance of the golden generation. I do think in terms of a starting striker, it will probably be Alvarez, like you said, the younger, more explosive player. But I do think in clutch moments, depending on who they're playing, Martinez will start, depending on what type of game the coach wants to lead with. I also think the next game they're playing with Austria. Both are tied 3-3 within their group, so this would be another important game for both. I think it's going to be a slugfest. Austria shouldn't be taken lightly. I do think they have some class players on their team. You have Marcel Sabitzer leading the line for Austria, as well as Johnny Alaba. Even though he's old himself, I think he's still class to his age. So we should see an exciting game tomorrow.
No, I agree with both of you guys. Also, one thing I want to touch on before we're going to talk about France, like Bupe was mentioning. Um, I think this is just gonna be a small discussion because I think both of us were all of us were, especially you guys, I'm sure, were probably disappointed in the showing that Portugal put out. And obviously, I mean, Portugal and like Argentina, I'm sure we all know like why we're bringing up these two teams together.
Mhm.
Obviously led by Ronaldo. Not a great performance from Portugal, not a great performance from Ronaldo. We saw a lot of just him trying to just not really like play with the rest of the team. It was looking like just trying to like get his goals, which is what it was looking like to me, and what it was looking like to a lot of people online was what they were mentioning. Before we move on to France, we'll just talk about it quickly. Bupe, I'll go to you first. Do you expect to see a lot of the same from Ronaldo in these next two games in the group stage, and potentially if they're able to make the knockout round, or do you think he's going to change his play style and just like fix what he was like doing in like in an easy way to put it? Just like, is he gonna like change the way he was playing the first game, or do you think you expect to see a little bit of the same over the next two games?
I think Ronaldo himself playing as a striker, he'll probably stay the same within it. I do expect a bigger change within the team as a whole, specifically the midfield. I think they need to get Bruno Fernandes more involved within the game. You have Premier League Player of the Year not being put within the game, not getting as many touches. We saw it was took like maybe 35 minutes for him to like be in the game and have some type of effect on it. Not to take anything away from Vitinha and Juan Neves. They did a really good job controlling that midfield, but they still need to get involved. They still need to involve Bruno Fernandes. And I do think we would see the likes of Rafael Leao joining the squad to bring more pace and more creativity towards the field. I do think just a lack of crosses within that game was also evident because we didn't really see Ronaldo go up for anything, really. I do think there was some placating to him in some sense that, certain chances you're like, should he have passed it to Ronaldo in that case? Maybe they were trying to like do a back and forth thing, like, oh, Ronaldo scored two, like not only Messi could do it. But I do think it's a more coaching thing within that game. I do think big changes are coming for it. So we'll see. How about you, Tish? What do you think?
I fully agree. I think it's like entirely coaching, specifically like a formational thing as well, where I mean Ronaldo, he's like 41. He's not of the age of like Mbappe where he can just like make runs past the defense because I mean Portugal has probably the best midfielding talent in the entire world right now with like you
Mhm.
said, Bruno Fernandes, who I mean, Bupa, you're the Manchester United guy, so correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he break like the Premier League assist record for a year?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so he's fantastic, world class player. Then like Vitinha, who is like the heart and soul of like PSG's midfield, and then with his other fellow midfielder, Joao Neves, they have all the midfielding talent. But if Ronaldo's the sole striker up top, he's not of the age of where he can like make runs anymore. So you have the
Mhm.
midfielders; they can't really play balls into Ronaldo. So I think like you mentioned, I think it could be helpful if you maybe move like Rafael Leao into the game. Maybe he plays up top, maybe not entirely alongside Ronaldo, but he makes attacking runs as well to kind of open up the offense. Because, as someone who is a Messi guy, I will say Ronaldo's gotten a lot of very unjust slander ever since 2022 with the World Cup win for Messi. I've seen some like preposterous takes about him. So I think it isn't really, while he like, he was camping off sides a bit. I think it's a bit on the coach as well and the team. They need to get the midfielders involved and have Leal be up top as well to help make runs in and get the offense going again. Because I think Portugal, they're one of the deepest teams in the entire tournament. I mean, in my pre-tournament bracket, like I had them even making the final. We'll see if that happens,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah, and I think like what both you guys are saying about like the rest of the team being very stacked. Like I've heard, I think one of the most common takes I've heard around Portugal this year, especially going into the World Cup, has been like this is one of the best Portugal teams Ronaldo's been a part of. So it's not like most people are saying it's not expected for him. He doesn't need to be to the level that he's been before. The team is a lot better. So we'll see what happens in their next two group stage games and what happens when we get to the knockout round. So one of the last couple teams we're going to touch on before we'll do some like broad things with the whole World Cup. Let's touch on France. So Bupe, you mentioned Kylian Mbappe, one of the stars of the France team, scoring 2 goals in their first win against Senegal. So obviously the France leading their group right now. Actually, no, they're not leading the group right now because some goal
Hmm.
differential. Norway's the one leading the group right now. But France has their next matchup with Iraq. That's going to be tomorrow as well. So probably at the day of posting this video, it's going to be on that same day. Iraq being the team that's at the bottom of the group right now. So it should be an easy win for France. At least that's what we're expecting. But we have seen that some teams haven't had the easiest wins against some of the expected weaker competition in the cup so far. So let's go to you, Bupe, first. What did you see from France in their first game? What did you like? Obviously, the easiest thing to like from the game was Kylian Mbappe's performance. Anything else stuck out to you? And what do you think? What do you think you want to see from them the next couple of group stage games before the knockout round hits?
I think within that French squad specifically, it's a very strong squad, a lot of youth within it, so you can see it going for another tournament in the future. But I do think Michael Olise is the star of the show. You could see how he controlled passing, pacing within that team. I think having Due on the other wing was also important. He just brought another breath of creativity and some pace on it. And then you have your main man, Mbappe, you know, electric player, one of the biggest stars of our generation, just leading his team towards the forefront. And I do think I saw a stat saying that Mbappe on France, whenever he played, they haven't lost a game. So that's really big for them. But I do think with them playing Iraq and Philly, I do think it's going to be a big game from both sides. Earlier today in Philadelphia, the Iraqi supporters came in and they came in loud, and you can hear them all the way from the art museum. So I do think that will be a big factor within the game. I don't think they should take them lightly at all. I think it'll be a competitive game. I think almost every game in this tournament so far has been pretty good, entertaining football. So I do think France would get the win, but I don't think it's going to be an easy win.
Yeah, this team is unbelievable. I mean, like they have so much talent, specifically up in like the attacking with, like you said, like Due, Mbappe, Olise. Surprisingly quiet game for Dembele. I mean, the Ballon d'Or winner last
Mhm.
year, but at the same time, France is so talented. He doesn't even need to have like an insane performance for them to win. I mean, I think what makes Mbappe so special is just the fact that, and to me, why he's the best forward slash striker in the entire world is the fact that he's so impactful on so many different levels of the pitch. Like I mean, we saw like he had a screamer from outside the box. At the same time, he's probably like one of the fastest players in the world. He can get any run you need behind the defense. And he just controls the entire flow of the game whenever the ball, even when he doesn't have it at his feet. So Mbappe is truly like one of a kind. I mean, we saw like his absolute masterclass performance in 2022 unfortunately came up short, but people were even saying like that was the best World Cup final performance of all time. Like hat trick in the final doesn't get any better than that. So I think Mbappe and I mean the rest of the French squad, they really should be in my eyes, at least I'd say they should be the favorite to win at this point. I mean,
Mhm. They're my favorite.
yeah, like I mean, kind of
Yeah.
like you there. They beat a tough Senegal team. To people are definitely overlooking that team. And then I'm really excited for that Norway match. Holland and Mbappe, probably the best
Mhm.
two up top players in the entire world. And then just Michael Elise and my nonchalant king, just always, doing great things. A left-footed demon. Always nice to see him play
Mhm.
well as well. So I think France, it was a tough win, but at the same time, it's a win. And France they're back. They're not to be messed with for sure.
Yeah, and I think one of the I'll give you guys an easy marker to be able to determine, all right, is this team stacked or not in terms of the players on the team. I'm going through France's roster right now, and as a guy that most of his soccer knowledge comes from playing FIFA and things like that, I'm going through this roster. I'm like, there's a lot of guys that are like standouts I've seen on a lot of different of the biggest clubs in like England and like France and Spain and all that. So it's going through it and just seeing like, okay, these are a lot of guys. They got a lot of dudes on their roster. So obviously, like echoing what both of you guys said. This is a strong team, and I think we're going to see a strong run from them deep into the knockout stage. So one of the last teams I want to touch on, let's touch on England. Obviously, a team that has been much maligned in the past years for not being able to win the World Cup, right? Their last World Cup win being in 1966. So obviously, I haven't had a win since then. They're really trying to get it done this year. First game against Croatia, a little bit nervous at the start, right? I think it was 2-2 going into the half. I needed a Harry Kane penalty, a redo of a Harry Kane penalty as the goalie comes off the line a little bit earlier, but he's able to bury the second one. And then they're able to score 2 goals in the second half and get a pretty comfortable 4-2 win against Croatia. And they have their next game coming up in a couple days. So just to ask you guys about England overall, do you think? I mean, what do you think about like this roster and how do you think they're set up for the rest of this World Cup? Do you think this could be the year where obviously this year where we talked about two of the favorites already, Spain and France, another really strong team in Argentina, and we haven't even mentioned teams like Germany and the Netherlands and things like that. So really strong teams that have always been shown the capability to make the finals and even win it all. So obviously this is a really deep group of teams we have this year. But do you guys see? I'll start with you, Tish. Do you see a path where England could actually win it all this year and talk about it's coming home, like the first time that actually comes home since 1966? Do you see that as a possibility?
I mean, I think England, it's always been the case for at least like the last decade where they've had some of the most talented players, but they always just like come up short. And I mean, unfortunately, I don't really think they have the depth to get it done this year. We saw some like questionable picking of the squad where we saw like Anthony Gordon make it over like one of my favorite players, Cole Palmer, or even um, Phil Foden from Manchester City. So I mean, and Anthony Gordon played pretty atrociously in that game. So definitely some questionable match picking of the squad there. But at the same time, they have a lot of world class players. I mean, Jude Bellingham, what a goal he had there on the fast break. I guess that's a basketball term, but whatever. And then also we saw Harry Kane, I mean, had that redo of the penalty, but he's also joining the elite like goal scoring ranks. I think this year he joined Messi, Ronaldo, and Suarez as like the only players with like 60 goals in a calendar year, which is absolutely ridiculous. So he's definitely, out for blood. He's had like the trophyless allegations. He finally got one with Bayern, but it'll be nice to see him get a trophy. But I don't know. I just don't like the depth of this English team, especially they're defensively like led by John Stones, but they don't really have anyone else. A lot of their good guys are getting older. I mean, Reece James, can he stay healthy? We'll see. But I don't know. I think England can definitely make a run in the knockout stage, probably get to the quarterfinals, but I don't think they stack up to the teams like France, Spain, even Portugal if they figure things out.
Um, hmm. Will football be coming home? Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe. I do think age is a big factor within this team, but I do think a lot of these players are informed within this squad. You have one of the best strikers in the world, like you said, Harry Kane. He's in one of the best forms of his career. Marcus Rashford coming off of Barcelona loan. He scored last game off the bench. He'll be big for them. You have Bukayo Saka and Eze. Both of them came off Arsenal winning the Premier League. I do think those two players are going to be big for them. And in terms of coaching, you have Thomas Tuchel, new coach, new play style. We've seen his work at Bayern and as well as Chelsea. Very interesting and creative football within the squad. And I do think in terms of the selection process, some teams like Chelsea were underperforming towards, I guess, most of the season. I would say played a big factor in that. Same with Phil Foden. We didn't really see much of him at Man City because I think that played a big factor within selecting the squad. And in terms of, like you said, people are getting older in this team. I do think some of the younger guys, some of the breakout stars, like my star boy, Kobe Mainoo, he'll be playing a really big part in this team. I do think he'll be getting some minutes with the next game. I can see that happening. Just having him on the field, getting his feet ready, keeping him warm. He's very composed within the midfield, really good on defense, passing. I think all around good player. So I think he'd be really big for England.
Yeah, and I think, like we talked about, these are some of we've talked about a lot of the teams before. There's a lot of competition for England to win it all. We mentioned some of the teams, even the teams we haven't mentioned. But like you mentioned, depth could be like an issue with them, so we'll see how it plays out in the rest of this group stage and the knockout stage. So we've touched on a couple teams like individually. and what we think their outlook is looking like based on the first game, match day one, and some teams have even had two games, and what it's looking like for the rest of the group stage, and what we think their possibility is for the rest of the knockout stage. So let's look overall at the World Cup as a whole and just like take a macro look at it. So I want to ask you guys like who are you think your biggest winners are of the World Cup so far? And then we can do on the other side of it, we can do like the losers aspect and see like who hasn't performed as well. So I mean, I can start this one actually. This one is not necessarily based too much on the actual soccer or the football that's happening on the field, but it's more just like what it means for their nation, things like that. I'm gonna go with the biggest winner. I'm gonna go with Curacao, and it's specifically their game today against Ecuador. Obviously, if you look at the final score, you can say, okay, maybe it's nothing crazy, it's just a 0-0 draw. But for the first draw in this team's World Cup history, obviously we know in their first game they scored their first ever World Cup goal, right? They tied the game 1-1 in Germany. Obviously, we know the game got out of hand for them very late, but Germany's a very tough team that needed the very last minute to be able to come back against Ivory Coast in a game most recently as yesterday, or 2 days ago at the time of watching this video. So I think mostly it's just for a country that has a population of roughly 150,000 people, and like half their population could fit in the stadium they were playing in yesterday, right? They were playing in Kansas City Stadium where the Chiefs play. Half their population could fit in that stadium, and they were able to go against a team that has like maybe not like fully like winning the World Cup expectations, but at least a solid squad in Ecuador, I'd say. And that they were still able to get a draw against them. And then if you were watching the game after, it looked like they had won the game, right? The way their fans were celebrating, the way their team was celebrating. Obviously, a FIFA record in terms of World Cup saves in a 90-minute game. Eloy Room gets 15 saves in the game yesterday. Some clutch saves, specifically at the end, to save the shutout and the draw for them. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Curacao, a team that obviously no one expected going into the World Cup. No one expects them right now to be winning their group, or making it to the knockout stage. We'll see with like a draw, maybe if they can somehow like make it as one of the third place teams. We'll see. But just a great performance from them overall. And I just really like what I've seen. I'm just really happy for like what I've seen from their fans and things like that. So, Bupe, why don't you go next? Who would you say is your biggest winner of the tournament so far?
Um, I would say my biggest winner of the tournament so far would be the Netherlands. I think the Netherlands has put on a very dominating performance so far. I think having a good game against Japan, even though it ended 2-2, showed that they were solid attacking wise. And then coming into their game against Sweden, they showed that their defense was solid and they could really dominate a team so aggressively, 5-1. So yeah, I think the Netherlands are a very big force to be reckoned with. I think they're a good contender as well to, surprise people and win the World Cup. And I do think the Netherlands has the record for the most finals appearances without winning a final themselves. So they've been here before. I do think this is a strong team as well. A lot of mix between youth and age. So it should be exciting to see this. How about you, Tish?
Yeah, I mean, touching on Netherlands, I know like Liverpool fans got to be salty seeing like Cody Gakpo play like out of his mind internationally, and then on the club stage just like doesn't do anything. But I mean, yeah, definitely Netherlands are definitely good. I'm gonna take a different route. I think the biggest winner has got to be just like the international fans. Like, it's kind of cool to see. Like, I've seen some things on like Twitter of specifically this guy from Germany named
Oh
Freddie,
my
and then
gosh,
this guy
Fred.
from Fred, and then from Japan, Bob. These two guys are literally like having the times of their lives in like the US. I saw like Bob literally like saying he's gonna like sleep on Santa Monica Pier for a night, just like to be on the beach. And like I saw like Fred just like try like Taco Bell and stuff like that. Like some of these people are just having a blast. That's kind of cool to see. Because I think it's a unique like it's hosted across the entire like continent, North America, but obviously like a lot of different host cities in the United States, kind of like unique to previous World Cups where I mean the US is definitely a geographically larger country. So you get a lot of like different fan interactions that you haven't really seen in a lot of previous World Cups. And then I guess another just like quick actual soccer winner. I'll go with Holland and Norway. I think, Holland making his World Cup debut, a lot of questions like, can Norway do anything? It's pretty much just Holland, Odegaard, and the rest of the squad. But I mean, we saw in their debut, Holland just like two goals, like scored a brace like it was nothing. And it was like kind of funny to see his second goal where they played it back to the goalie, and you just see like a 6'4" machine, just like 200-pound machine running straight at you. Like I don't even blame the goalie for like messing up the clearance. So Holland, he proved that he's meant to play on the World Cup stage. We'll see if he can kind of make like a Cinderella run with the squad and take them far.
Those are all good picks. So like I mentioned, so those are our World Cup winners. Let's do some of our World Cup losers. So these are maybe some of the teams that we expected going in. We expected a lot more from them and aren't seeing that much. Specific players that we thought were going to play really well. Yeah, what's up, Bupe?
Hey man, Turkey, the door is waiting.
Oh, you figured out mine exactly. You figured out I was gonna go there exactly. Turkey's got to be my biggest loser. I think all of us. That's probably not a super niche pick. I think we all had that in mind, but that was gonna be the team I was gonna go with. Just not great performances from them so far in like the whole tournament. My second pick that I was gonna go with for a loser, since I thought that one might be a popular one. I'm gonna go with Tunisia and specifically their manager, the one that gets fired in the middle of the World Cup. I tried to pull it up this list right now to see some of the coaches that have been fired within the World Cup tournament, and it's not like a crazy amount. I honestly might have expected it to be a little bit more, but there's really only it's like about like 10, maybe even less than 10 coaches on this list that have been fired during the World Cup. And now that I think about it, this isn't really like a year by year tournament like we see in like the NBA playoffs, the NFL playoffs, or even just like a regular like Premier League, La Liga season where it's season by season, you have like another shot at it next year. This was probably not a great idea just for the PR wise of it, the publicity move to be firing your manager during a World Cup, during the biggest tournament every 4 years that goes on in your sport. So obviously not the result you wanted to see from Tunisia, the 5-1 loss to Sweden in their first game. You obviously would have liked to see a better result from them, but I don't know if that justifies firing your coach in the midst of the biggest tournament. So how about you, Bube? Who's your biggest loser so far, other than Turkey, I guess, because that's the one we're all gonna go with.
Other than Turkey, uh, I guess similar to Tish's answer, I'll say the fans themselves are one of the biggest losers, more so in terms of ticketing. I do think this World Cup, while it is good that more people get to experience it with the expansion of the amount of games here, we have seen some outrageous prices within themselves, just for people, watch games. Uh, you know, I wanted to go to the France and Iraq match tomorrow, and then tickets are looking like $660 to see in the bleachers. Not everyone can experience something like that. Then in and of itself, you have hotel, traveling, which adds up a lot, and then food expenses themselves, and the way the economy is right now, it really isn't affordable to, experience this. But luckily, FIFA and host cities have provided fan fests for people to go to. These are great ways for people to view things, experience it with many pe different people. You have different bars as well, different, I guess, hosting venues. Like in Philadelphia, we have Stateside, which has people there. Big show out for Brazil versus Haiti. You have Lions Bar down in Chinatown. Shout out to them. This isn't a sponsor, but it's a very good soccer bar.
Sponsor us.
Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of ways for people to enjoy it, but there's been a lot of, price gouging. So I do think fans are one of the biggest losers here.
Yeah, that's actually it's kind of one thing I've kind of noticed for the World Cup this year has been like whenever the cameramen or like the camera crew are like
All
panning
right.
across the fans, like it feels like in the previous years I've seen like them pan to like, people with like crazy face paint of their like flags and like insane fandom. This year it's just been like, oh, this celebrity's at the game, that celebrity's at the game. Like it feels like there's definitely been kind of like some exclusivity for this entire World Cup. So, and like I mean the prices reflect it. And then yeah, definitely Tunisia has got to be a loser as well, Jay, like you said. Just I mean, imagine being the coach, you train your squad for 4 years and then you're out of there after one game. Just that's got to be rough. But I think another loser for me has got to be Belgium. It's a shame because I definitely was when I was younger. They had some of my favorite players in like Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne. So it's been a shame to see like pretty much for the last four World Cups they've been dark horses. Like they're going to surprise everyone. They're going to make a deep run. And then I mean we saw last World Cup they didn't even make it out of the group stage. This time like that Group G is one of the worst groups, and just in terms of not teams, but like they haven't had a single win out of all four teams. It's just like draws. We're going to see some insane tiebreakers for that group, but it's like it's not like exciting tiebreakers. It's like, oh, like everyone's playing bad. We got to advance two of them. So Belgium, it's a shame because I think really after this year, we're going to see probably. arguably their best player of all time in KDB, probably retire from the international stage. That's definitely before the next World Cup. Maybe not right away. Who knows?
Not
Maybe
to
he has
cut
some
you
gas in the
off,
tank. Yeah.
but I do think, well, just for argument's
Yeah.
sake,
Yeah.
I would say that like their best player would be TBA Courtois, their
Oh,
goalkeeper, current goalkeeper of Real Madrid,
that's true. That's true.
kept
He's
the
yeah.
gates protected for a long time, one of the best in the world. So they're both on the opposite ends of the game.
Good
So I do
point. I forgot
think when
about
they
him. Yeah.
both retire at some point, it's going to be interesting to see what Belgium does in the future. Like you said, a loss of Hazard. We're going to lose Romelu Lukaku,
Lukaku
even
as
though he
well.
had a good impact on last game. I do think you can see his age coming in. He started under a minute restriction and hasn't been playing much in Napoli either.
I saw something that like he played more minutes in today's game, today, June 21st, than he played this
Mhm.
entire season for Napoli. Like something
Yep.
ridiculous like that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's crazy. So Belgium, even if they do make it into the knockout stage, I don't really expect them to do much. It's a shame.
All right, so those are some of our World Cup winners and losers. Some of our thoughts on them. So let's do a couple rapid question things. So the first, we're gonna do in like rapid succession. Let's just go with our Golden Boot winners, right? So or who we predict is gonna win the Golden Boot. Most goals scored in the tournament. So I'm gonna go with a pretty obvious one, or pretty like favorite to pick. I'm gonna go with Kylian Mbappe. I think obviously France is gonna be in the tournament for a long time. He scored 2 goals in the first group stage game. I think he's gonna score a lot more in these next two group stage games. He's obviously going to be key in the knockout stage game. So I'm going to go Kylian Mbappe. Tish, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mbappe's got to be the pick here just because it's a balance of, I mean, he's a world-class player, but also France will make it far enough for him to score enough goals. An interesting like sleeper pick would be like Holland, just because I feel like, I mean, if anyone's going to score, it's going to be him. I just don't think they'll make it far enough in the knockout stage, but I mean, he could score enough goals in the group stage in like one or two knockout rounds to get the golden boot, but the safer and more likely pick's got to be Mbappe in my eyes.
Again, like you guys said, I think all roads lead to Mbappe. So I think he would be the obvious pick for it. I do think a sleeper pick would be Andov on Germany, right now leading the Golden Boot race with 3 goals. So I do think if Germany continue to play the way they have, he would be a good pick for the Golden Ball or the Golden Boot. Sorry.
No, makes sense. All right, so next thing we're gonna do for rapid fire questions. I'm gonna go through the list of teams. So I have the standings listed up for all the groups here. So I'm gonna go through all the teams that are in either in first place and maybe a couple second place teams if we just think like that team still has a shot to win it all. I'm gonna go through all the groups. We're gonna go through all the teams, and I'm gonna ask you guys just a yes or no, maybe like one sentence at most, whether or not you guys think this team is gonna be capable of winning the World Cup overall. So I'll go Tish first and then Bupe for each one.
Hmm.
So Tish, Mexico, can they win it all? Yes or no?
Nah.
Bupe, what about you?
No.
No. All right. Next, I think that's the only one that we can see going from there. So next, I'm gonna move on to Group B. We got Canada leading the group. Tish, yes or no? Canada.
Man, the boys up north, no, not this year. No, not this year.
All right, Bupe.
Sorry, my Maple Masters, but no.
All right. Next, we're moving on to Group C. Right now, we have Brazil leading the group. Tish, what's your thoughts on Brazil? Yes or no?
As much as I want to see Neymar finally get that well-deserved World Cup title, I think Brazil just finds a way to blow it every single time. I don't think they can win.
All right, and Bupe.
This might be Cope, but yes,
Hope
Cunha
so,
gonna
man.
lead
Hope
the
so.
Okay.
lines.
Okay. All right. The next one. This team did make a deep run. In last or a significant run in last, well, not last year. 2022's World Cup, the last World Cup. Morocco is currently the second team in Group C. Tish, yes or no? Morocco winning it all.
I'm gonna say no. As elite as that 2022 run was, I feel like while they are in their like golden age of Moroccan football, it was definitely a bit of like a fever dream, kind of like a one-time Cinderella story. So they'll definitely they're definitely not going to be like instantly out in the knockout round, but I don't really see them winning at all.
Okay. And then Bupe.
No, first round knockout.
Okay.
But
All
there we
right.
go.
Putting your stamp on it. All right. Next, we got Group D. Currently leading in the United States. Tish, yes or no? In the USA winning it all.
I mean, gotta believe in them, man. Like this is the year. I'm telling you, this is the year.
All right. And Bupe.
Hey man, if match fixing happens, hey, let it be. But for real, no.
Okay.
Ah,
All right. And then we're moving on to Group E. Right now we have Germany leading the group. Tish, yes or no in Germany winning it all?
I think they're definitely an underrated team. Germany has a lot of talent, especially Jamal Musiala. He can will them to a win on his own. I think so.
Okay. And then Bupe?
No.
All right. All right. And then Group F, we have. I'm gonna ask you about two teams listed on it right now. So right now we have the Netherlands leading the
Mm.
group. Tish, you think Netherlands, yes or no, winning it all?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, they
Definitely.
have their very good
The
chance for sure.
capability to win it all.
For
All right,
sure.
Bupe.
Yep.
Yep. All right. And the next team we have listed in the group, I'm gonna ask about them too because I mean I've seen obviously I'm not the biggest international soccer fan, specifically watching
Oh,
Asian
Project
soccer
Blue
like all
Lock.
the time. So I'm gonna be asking Japan. Tish, do you think yes or no Japan could win it all?
Not win it all, but I think they could be a very, very annoying team in that knockout round for the first
Okay.
round for sure.
All right. And then Bupe?
I'm gonna be optimistic. I think yes. I
Okay.
think strong squad, very determined. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then Group G, right now, Group G, Iran is the team leading the group right now. Belgium, I'm guessing either Belgium or Egypt was probably one of the two teams people were expecting to win it all. Or win this group specifically. So Tish, I'm gonna ask you either Belgium or Egypt, could you see either of these two teams winning it all?
Nah, man, no one from Group G's even
Okay.
touching a knockout win. Forget like winning the whole thing.
Okay. And then Bupe?
I think Egypt makes it past the first round of knockouts.
Okay.
But no
All right.
finals.
All right. And then we're moving on to Group H. Tish, your team right here, Spain, yes or no, win it all? To win it
Yes,
all.
sir. I got
Okay.
Yamal, man. Anything's possible.
All right. And then Bupe?
Yeah.
All right. And then the next team I'm going to go with, also, we're sticking in Group H. Uruguay, obviously a draw today against Cabo Verde. Tish, yes or no, Uruguay winning it all? Could win it all.
No, too much uncertainty in the attack. Like Darwin Nunez is supposed to be potent, but he didn't even get the start today. I don't think so.
Okay. And then Bupe?
Nope.
All right. And then so we're moving on to Group I. I think a lot of solid teams in this one, and then one of the favorites in this team. So we'll start with the team that's leading the group. Probably not the one that everyone expected to be, but it's Norway, led by Erling Haaland. Tish, yes or no, Norway could win it all.
As much as I'd love to see that, I don't think they have enough depth outside their two stars to win it now.
Okay. And then Bupe?
Like Tish said, not enough depth, not enough experience. Similar to the Spurs, I don't think it's happening.
Okay. All right. And then I think the next team in the group is France. I'm going to save that one. I think we're all expecting they have a chance, obviously a chance to win it all. I'm going to ask you about the third team in the group. So I think this is a team that I heard some people talking about originally going into it, so I just wasn't like sure. So I want to get you guys' opinion on whether you're not thinking win it all. Tish, Senegal, yes or no, they could win it all.
I don't think so. I mean, I think we saw them lose to France, the best group in that. While they're probably the best team in the entire cup, I don't think Senegal can really win the entire tournament now.
All right. And then Bupe?
I don't think they'll win their entire tournament, but I do think they'll make a deep run, AFCON winners.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay. All right. And then so we got three groups left. So we're on Group J right now. I think there's only one team from here that we will all consider. So Argentina, Tish, yes or no? I'm guessing this is going to be yes.
Messi's going back to back, man. He got to. He's got to.
All right. And then Bupe?
you know what? I'm gonna call the biggest upset ever. No,
Okay.
Sheesh.
Argentina
Okay.
is gonna get knocked out in the first round.
Okay.
Dang.
Okay. Putting your stamp on it. All right.
Okay.
All right. Second to last group. Right now, I think everyone going into this one probably also expected Portugal to be leading this group, but currently they're in third place right now. So I'll ask Portugal first. Tish, yes or no, could win the World Cup.
Yes, if they figure out formationally, I think they can. Yeah.
Okay. And then Bupe?
I'd say no, surprisingly.
No.
I do think there's a lot of inconsistencies within the attacking third, but if they figure things out, maybe.
Okay. And then the last one I'm going to ask you from this group right now, the team that's currently leading the group, Colombia. Tish, yes or no, Colombia, you could see winning it all.
I mean, as good as Luis Diaz is, I don't think they can win it all, but they can definitely be an annoying like knockout team for the first two rounds.
Okay. And then Bupe.
I agree wholeheartedly with Tish.
All right. And then so we're reaching our last group here, Group L. So we'll start with the team that's currently leading the group, England. Tish, yes or no, England could win it all.
I think Bupe, your propaganda might have actually swayed me earlier. I think England actually they are deeper than I realized. So I'm gonna say yes, actually, contrary to
Okay.
what I said earlier.
And then Bupe, I'm going to say, I assume you're going to go with a yes for this one.
Yeah, I do think it's just if they have the right team, right time, right opponent, it could happen.
Okay. And then I'll go with one last team that's in this group also got a win in their first game against Panama, but I'm not sure. I'm assuming this is going to be a no from you guys, but I just want to see. So Ghana, the team that's currently second in the group, Tish, yes or no, Ghana could win it all.
Nah, it would be nice to see them make a run, but I don't think they can.
Okay. And then Bupe?
I don't think so,
Okay.
but second round knockout.
Okay.
Could happen. Yeah.
All right. So we're going through we went through all the teams there. Your guys' thoughts on whether or not they can win it all. I do want to ask one last thing. I think we uh properly went over the whole World Cup as a whole, went over some of the biggest teams. And we touched on some of the most important teams, which is good. So I do want to ask one last thing. Since we're in the group stage and we're sort of starting to see how this new World Cup is sort of coming into shape. Obviously, we know there's an addition of 16 teams to this World Cup. Previously, we've been 30. Previously, we've seen just 32 teams in the World Cup. Right now, we're up to 48, and we're seeing that obviously the top two teams in the group are going to go in, and then we're going to have 8 of the 12 third place teams go. So I want to ask you guys, Bupe. I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the just the World Cup expanding into 48 teams? Um, and how do you think it's changed things? Are you a fan of this? Would you rather them go back to 32 for the next World Cup? So just your thoughts overall on the expansion and how it's made the tournament any changed the tournament in any way.
Uh, Personally, I'm a fan of the expansion. Or just let me say it, personally, I'm a fan of the new World Cup format. I do think 48 teams gives a better opportunity for, lesser countries to be involved, or it gives more opportunity for different, countries to be involved, mixing things up. However, like the criticism online says, you get lackluster matches here and there. So there is that drawback. But I do think within this format and the rules that have changed, being that, throw-ins are quicker, diving and like people time wasting has been reduced. I think that provides more action-packed matches. It doesn't feel as sluggish as before. And I do think one of the, biggest drawbacks of this format is the hydration breaks. I've seen a lot of people complaining that, you were promised no ads, but you're just sitting there scrolling. But I do think it's a good way as well for people to just go up and go to the bathroom or get things done here and around. So I think it's a good and bad thing.
Yeah. I think yeah, when those hydration breaks hit, like I gotta take a sip of water too, like I'm playing out there too. But
Honestly,
not
same here.
exactly, it's only right. But I think I mean, I was probably one of those critics where I was a bit like questionable coming into the World Cup of while I love more matches, obviously, like, are we going to see less competitive groups with more teams? But I've definitely been proven wrong. We've seen like these like wonder stories, like Cabo Verde, for example, happen where two draws unexpectedly. So I'm never going to complain about more matches. I mean, we only get the World Cup once every 4 years. Every game, you're gonna have bad games naturally, but we're also going to get more good ones that we probably wouldn't have gotten in the past. So I think I'm definitely a fan of the 48 team format for sure. I think I guess we'll see how it plays out. But I think the one criticism I might have though is I'm not really sure how I feel about the proportion of knockout teams being increased. We saw in the last World Cup where correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was just the top two from every group advance.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's a top two from every group in addition to 8 third place teams. I feel like
Mhm.
we might just be watering down the knockout stage a little bit, but at the same time, we could see some upsets. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Just to
And
add on, oh my
yeah,
bad
no, go ahead.
for
No, go
cutting
ahead, Bupe.
off. But I think with I guess this new format for knockouts, you do get bigger matches earlier on. I guess one potential match, if France and Germany both win their group, they would be facing off each other first on July 4th, I think, actually, here in Philadelphia. So that's something early to see.
Yeah, and I think like just leading going in like straight into like what Bupe was saying, I think Tish, like your point makes sense. Like, do we want to see a watered down like round of 32? Obviously, like more what we would consider high stakes matchups in a one game elimination, like one and done type of like scenario. Obviously, similar to what we've seen like I think like March Madness, like the one and done type of scenario, like breeds a lot more like competition and things like that. But like you said, are we going to end up seeing a lot of like round of 32 games that really aren't close or things like that? Is that really something that the fans are going to be wanting seeing? If we see a team advance from like from a third place in a group that has to play like a group winner, are they just going to end up getting destroyed? And then is that really going to be a knockout stage worthy game or something like that? So just something to like keep an eye on. I think like personally like I'm a fan of it so far, especially as someone that really doesn't get into soccer too much other than like big international tournaments like this, specifically the World Cup. I love seeing these like group stage matches. Obviously, just having these games on during the day while like doing other things is just fun too. And I love having like more of these group stage matches. So I think this is a good. I think personally for me, it's a good addition. And I think we're all like interested in like having the idea of just like more games and things like that. But definitely, like you guys said, just worried about like watering down the quality of the games overall. And obviously, the knockout stage being the most important, we don't want that to get watered down as well. So just some of our thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with that knockout stage. We'll definitely try to do a preview episode for that when it comes around in a few weeks here. But I guess that's gonna wrap up our first ever summer series episode here. Kicking things off with our if I mean, no offense, Aki, Donnie, anyone else has been on the pod, but I think this might be our the best display of ball knowledge relative to the sport. I
I
say,
agree.
Bupe,
I
you
agree.
you did pretty well there. I'm pretty impressed. So gotta
No,
gotta
thank you
tip my
guys.
hat.
Thank you. Thank you. I was scared of getting mocked by your mics, and I'm here with my wired headphones. But yeah, thank you. Excited to be on here. I hope I prepared well enough, not to embarrass myself. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely a blast having you on and good to change up our topics here for something. And speaking of which, we just started doing our 82 and 0 challenge, posting on like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram. So just go check those out. They'll be you'll see them all over our socials that are linked in the description. But it's gonna wrap it up and comment anything you want us to talk about for future episodes.